Good morning, Book 2. This is Denise Cooper, and this is an explanation of the rules to the blackout of 2018, the blackout year in books, that is. Good morning, you guys. I've been rearranging my shelves, getting ready for 2018. Yes, I have. So I've been in the living room, the dining room, my art room with books, and here in my bedroom where the big bookcases are. Yes, and the tables filled with books and so forth and so on. So I got a little tired and I'm taking a break, but I wanted to take this time out to film my video for today around noonish. This is Saturday, and it is currently early because I've been up early moving books around and I'm all sweaty, and I'm going to try to check the time on my phone. It is currently 9:52 a.m. and this is it broken down simply. I made a video. My voice is going really bad, so I'm going to try to wrap this up really quick because I was getting some messages from Instagram asking what is the 2018, the blackout year in books, or the blackout 2018. Come with a better hashtag for me. I am just going to call it the blackout year in books. I like that. I like the blackout 2018 so people can ask questions, and I have definitely been getting those questions. So thanks to Didi and Brown Girl Reading, who has been hyping it on her Instagram and mentioned it, and oh my goodness, and on her blog, and people are asking me questions left and right. Why am I moving around? I don't know. Okay, let's stop. So these are the rules, and I posted them on Instagram, so I'm going to actually go to my Instagram, but I'm going to not try to show you who's trying to talking to me on my phone. Okay, there we go. So, somebody else is talking to me. Let me get off of there. Let me get off. Okay, oops. Okay, let me go back to my page. So there we go. This is the picture that I posted. It is obviously not all African Americans. That was done on purpose so that you can actually understand where I'm going to be going with it for next year. So if you've seen this on Dee Dee's Instagram and my Instagram, then check it out. These are the rules, and I'll just read from here. It says 2018 is the year of the blackout in books, that is. I will be reading nothing but African American writers all year. In this pick, there are some I can and will read. You tell me which ones I won't, due to one main rule. Other rules I am imposing to myself and other readers are only African American writers. That is number one. Number two, one independent writer per month. And that number two is actually what inspired me to do the blackout for 2018. When I went to the National Black Book Festival in Houston, Texas, here with Gwen Richardson, who is an independent writer. That's what gave me the idea. It was like, I'm in a room full of writers, these conferences, these talks. It was amazing. And I thought, I've been reading African American writers all my life. My mother is the one who started me reading, and my dad, and being that they are African American, and giving me books left and right to read. And I have a healthy obsession. I say healthy obsession with books. And so I wanted to dedicate that 1 year to all African Americans, because sitting in that room full of African American new writers, I wanted to learn more about them, just like I have learned about some of my favorites like Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, Richard Wright, and my man, James Baldwin. So there you go. Because those are not the only African American writers, and independent writers are very important. Everyone has a first novel that has a first, second, or third, or fourth. Everyone starts somewhere. So that's what inspired me to do the blackout, was going to that conference, and also just loving the fact that when you're reading a writer, a certain specific writer, and you read their whole catalog, and you get to know that writer a little bit. And I thought, man, I just want more and more and more. And that room was full of so many more. If you guys could have seen all those wonderful budding writers, it was just amazing and awe-inspiring, and I just loved it. So therefore, the Blackout 2018. Now, 2 African American female writers each month. So that is because, number one, I'm an artist, and every time I go somewhere, there's not that many female artists who are revered in their work. You see a lot of museums that have male upon male art. They sell more than women. They are marketed better than a lot of women back in the day when women were not on the walls as much in galleries and museums. And so because I am an artist and being very aware of that, and also with African American female writers or white writers or Spanish writers or whatever, when you have to put initials on your name to market yourself so that people don't know that you are a female, like a J.K. Rowling or a C.P. Patrick, and not to say that's their reasoning, but that is kind of where it started back in the day. And you can't tell me any different. So if you know different, please let me know. But that's what women used to have to do, is to put initials on their name so that they would not be marketed just in quotes, air quotes, just as female writers, as if that wasn't enough, that they were just an amazing writer. So there's the blackout rules and guidelines for myself and anyone that wants to join in. I hope that you do. And then we're going to go over a few of the books that I have since I've been taking things off of my shelves. Can I read it or not? Can I read it? I've read it. I love it. She's African American. She's in Cuba. And yes, that follows the guidelines and it fulfills female. Is Austin Clarke an African American? He lives in Canada, at least this book says so. And let's just open it up so you get the chance to find out about your writers and who you're reading. And it says Austin Clarke is a professor of literature and has taught at Yale and Williams, Duke, and the Universities of Texas and Indiana. He assisted in setting up a Black Studies program at Yale in 1968, after which he became the cultural attaché of the Embassy of Barbados in Washington, D.C. He lives in Toronto. So, is he Barbadian? Is that, I don't know. Barbados? Is he from Barbados? Is he an African American? Can I read him next year? And the best thing about that is to take your little phone and find out. You go to Google and you say, Austin Clarke. Austin Clarke. And there he is. Facebook profile. Novelist. Austin Ardenell Chesterfield Tom Clarke, C.M., was a Barbadian novelist and short story writer who was based in Toronto, Ontario. My mouth just went somewhere south. So anyway, that's it. So is he African American? I would say not, until I find out otherwise. And that's one of the beauties of doing the 2018 Blackout in books, is because I'll get to find out where the writers are from. Just because there's a beautiful black woman on the cover and there's a beautiful black male writer, is he African American? That means I might have to read him this year, right? Because I won't be able to read him next year. Who else can I read next year? Sister Soldier, A Moment of Silence. This is Midnight 3. I've read 1 and 2. I can't wait to read this one, and I will be reading that during the Blackout 2018. Afeni Shakur. Oh, the name might throw some people, but this is Tupac's mother. She is not, again, two different people. Assata and Afeni. Black Panthers both, yes. And Jasmine Guy, African American writer. Definitely read that one a couple of years ago, and encourage you to read it too. She really did an amazing job. Afeni and her are really good friends, and you can tell it in the book, and it's amazing. Leaving Atlanta. Can I read this off my shelf? Tayeri Jones. Is she African American? Is she African? Is she? Tayeri Jones won first prize in 2000 Hurston Wright Award literary competition while still a student in the prestigious MFA writing program at Arizona State University. She was a child in Atlanta during the period covered in this, her first novel, and currently lives in Phoenix, Arizona. I think she's African American. I'm going to read her next year. And can I read Reginald? It's called White Boys Stories. Reginald McKnight. Is he African American? Let's check it out. There he is. Reginald McKnight teaches at the University of Maryland, College Park. He's received an NEA fellowship, an O. Henry Award, the Hemingway Special Citation, the Pushcart Prize, a Whiting Writers Award, and the Drew Hines Literature Prize. Hines, Lord, they got some names up in here, is the author of Mustafa's Eclipse, I Get on the Bus, and The Kind of Light That Shines on Texas. Hey, I'm in Texas. All right, doesn't give a lot about where he's from. It tells you where he's teaching and all the accolades and so forth and so on. So is he African American? That'd be another one I would ask Google. Now, what I know I can't read and what I'm scheduling myself to read next year, actually in 2019, after the blackout in 2018, are all writers overseas. No Americans. Not African, Caucasian, Indian, or otherwise. All overseas. That is the stack for 2019. Can I read this year? This year, yes. Jack Olson, being that he is a white male, writing about Geronimo Pratt. I can read it this year, but not during the blackout. Can't read this next year. Marlene Van Nykert, she's African, South African white female. The Genesis Files, Gwen Richardson, independent writer and co-founder of the National Black Book Festival. Definitely can read her next year during the blackout. And I can't wait to visit her again. Can I read Tara Conklin? She's a white American. She wrote a book called The House Girl. Well, I want to read it. I bought it. But I got to read it this year. Eva's Man ×2, Gail Jones. African American writer. I read it. This is the version I read. It was totally freaking brutally amazing, imaginative. I love this writer. And so I have two on my shelves, and I will give this one away. For those of you who are interested and maybe can show me some books that you will be reading, and I'll just randomly pick someone. Yep, can't read this next year. Can't read this next year. Can't read, let's see here, my Anita Diamond collection. Can't read her next year. Better start reading some books this year. David Sedaris going, nope, can't, no, not this year. Or not next year. Can I read her? She's Jamaican. Can I read her? She lives in Brooklyn. I'll read her this year because I wouldn't read her next year because she's Jamaican African. She's not African American, although she lives in America now, and you can call her African American if you want, but she's from Kingston, Jamaica, and I read Marlon James this year, and I'll be reading her this year. And if I don't read her this year, guess when I can read her? In 2019, Across the Water. Been to Jamaica twice, so I know I had to go across the water. Can I read this next year? No. But this year I can. Jonathan O'Dell, amazing writer. Can I read Minister Faust this year? No, he's Canadian. Definitely want to read him this year. And nope, not next year, but I can read him this year. All right, you guys. You got it? You get it? You got it? Good. Next year is going to be lit, as you young people say.